So, some exciting news in Tower Defense Simulator update news. Outer Bears says that we're working on some exciting stuff touching some really old UI. Mew will have some stuff to show soon. A lot of long overdue UI changes. Additionally, I've got the rejoin bug fixed on my branch and some other bug fixes that will come out at some point. The branch that he's talking about is probably like some GitHub branch that the developers work on. I do believe that the developers use GitHub for like version control, stuff like that, for Tower Defense Simulator, and they certainly do have their own developmental places, so it's not surprising that he's talking about the rejoin bug on his branch, which may have not been pushed out to Tower Defense Simulator. This was created on the 14th of November, so they may have pushed it to Tower Defense Simulator over the weekend. I don't think they would have, and it probably is more likely the case where they could push it for the next update. Now, I do know a lot of people are experiencing rejoin bug glitches, in that when they leave a game, they can't rejoin the game if they press the rejoin button. I have sometimes experienced that, but when it comes to Tower Defense Simulator, because rejoin has always been a little bit buggy since it was first added, I've never really reported on it. So because like there's always going to be someone who experiences a rejoin issue where they've left the game accidentally through a disconnect and they weren't able to rejoin it. But like, it doesn't look like it's a universal issue that the developers are on top of, and they have, well, at least Outer Bears has fixed it on his branch, as well as some other bug fixes that will come out at some point. So who knows what those are going to be. After we do know that they have fixed the Luna skin being awarded to players with the Hallowpunk Tower Game Pass, which the developers still haven't taken off sale, by the way. They are fixing bug issues, but they haven't stuck to their promises of taking off Tower Game Passes off sale, which is interesting. But Mew did also post the new inventory coming out soon, and a lot of this will be work in progress, so a lot will be updated and changed, meaning that the things that are shown off here, they aren't probably going to be the final versions that's seen in Tower Defense Simulator, but it could be something to be expected, which we see in Tower Defense Simulator. So here, it's interesting to say that the icons, they haven't changed between the towers, but what appears to have changed is that the skins, when it comes to being shown in the store, it looks like they will get the background, which is similar to the rarity that is shown off for the skin, because the Triumphant Hacker skin is an exclusive rarity skin. That means it has a red background or a red border if you currently equip it in Tower Defense Simulator. It's shown off here as, well, yellow border, so I guess because that's what you're selecting, but also there is a animation now which shows if, like, I think the skin is exclusive or not, where it just goes from, like, the left to the right in, like, a shining, gleaming thing, which is pretty cool, though I'm not sure if it'll be applied to other rarities, such as, like, it'll probably be applied to the Ultimate Rarities, since it is actually being applied already for the Ultimate Rarities, but I'm not sure about any other skin in Tower Defense Simulator. Additionally, it looks like in this new inventory, there is now going to be a search function. Now, I'm not sure if anyone remembers, but in the original leaks for old inventories for Tower Defense Simulator, there was a search function in the inventory to, like, seek out some stuff. So as you can see in the current inventory, you're not able to search up like your towers. You're able to sort them by price, unlocked, and alphabetical, but you're not able to sort them by like their names, which can be annoying if you're trying to find a certain item. For example, if I was trying to find the Orange Justice, you would have to sort by alphabetical and then scroll down to the O section, which it will take quite a while. And if you just wanted to show off the emotes, like I occasionally do, then it will have to take quite a while, and I've just found the Orange Justice as shown off here. So, as you can see here, there is a search function for, well, this looks like it's a skin search function, but given that this is used in the UIs, I'd have to assume that this would also be used for like the towers, emotes, crates, zombies, tags, and items. Interestingly enough, we do have most of these things in Tower Defense Simulator now. Towers, obviously, we had that. Emotes, we've had that in the past. Crates, we've had that. Zombies, interestingly enough, is the index. It's basically, I think I can say this, but zombies, I think they were, like, there was a plan to use it for PvP, and I think that's actually public, that zombies here was I think you buy stuff for, like, PvP to send, but in this case, in the modern context, zombies is within the index. You collect their logbooks that you can spawn into sandbox mode. Name tags, it wasn't a thing back then. It was, there were two name tags, rainbow name tag and default name tag, but you weren't able to unequip and equip them. But name tags were added in 2022, I want to say. And items, the items shown off here, it's very similar to how consumables work now. So, like, there was originally a plan to, I think I can say this, there was, like, plans to have, like, units and stuff to be spawned in that you buy, similar to how the consumables work nowadays. But obviously that's been renamed to, I guess, consumables to make it more clear on what the actual items are, rather than saying, oh look, it's an item, it could be a tower, for example. Now, it doesn't look like any of the statistics have changed here. I think the placement cost for the tower is now more clear. As you can see here, it now says that it costs $1,400 to place down the hacker tower, 2 placement limit, 4 damage, 0.8 fire rate, 11 range. I guess the buttons have also changed so that the gem icon button is now purple rather than the green that it is, except it has the gem icon instead of the coins icon. It also looks like the Game Pass icon, the Game Pass purchase option, which is shown off for the Hacker Tower, costing 3,000 Robux, is shown off here, although I don't think the Hacker Tower actually costs 3,000 Robux. I have to check that. And the skins thing, it's no longer like a box, it's now just a drawing icon, and I feel like it's less prominent here, but that's fair enough. But interestingly enough, there are only 4 towers that are shown off here in this hotbar. It may be the case where this player may not be level 10 or level 15 to unlock the 5th tower slot, but additionally this course could also be showing off PvP mode, which is interesting because there is a section here for exclusive towers, and as you may know, exclusive towers are banned in PvP mode, which doesn't make sense. I guess this toggle showing off here could be switching between PvP mode or PvE mode that's currently shown off here, and like the level explains why there isn't a 5th tower slot here. Interestingly enough, there is still a sort icon here, as we've seen previously. It was alphabetical, I forgot the other one, and just a random order. But here it has owned, equipped, so you can select which ones you own and which ones you've equipped, but also you can select between the starter towers, intermediate towers, advanced towers, hardcore towers, and exclusive towers. So the categories of towers, they haven't changed, which is fair enough. But the sorting has been changed, and also, interestingly enough, people have pointed out that there is now a loadouts button, which some people have suggested means that there may be an option for the developers to have pre-saved loadouts. However, with that being said, this could just be an icon here that just shows off what your loadout is, for example, for towers. And again, I don't think there's too much in terms of leaks for towers. I think all of the other towers have actually kept their statistics. Additionally, we do have cosmetics and items. It does look like some of the things may be grouped together so that the front page, or when you open your inventory, is less clustered. So for example, when it comes to cosmetics, it may now include the name tags, it may now include the emotes rather than them being separate, and it may also include the titles as a separate thing. And additionally, when it comes to items, it may include the crates, for example, but it also may include some of the other items, such as consumables, given that this is the icon that is being used for consumables. So it does look likely that they are concatenizing everything to make it more simple in terms of, well, okay, so here's the towers and here's everything else that you may or may not want to equip, which I think is better. And especially if the loadout means that you're able to have like a pre-selected loadout for, say, hardcore mode, for event mode, for fallen mode, for example, and you can just swap between the loadouts rather than having time taken away from you just by selecting all of the towers that you need for the current game that you're about to do. I feel like that would increase the engagement in Tower Defense Simulator if you can just quickly choose a loadout and then load into a game, rather than waiting around a long period of time just to equip all of the towers needed for like the game. And like the developers, they could easily profiteer from this. Like for example, there may be like 3 free loadouts that you may have, but this may be increased with the VIP Game Pass, but it also may be increased by the VIP Plus subscription, you know? It could increase up to unlimited amounts of loadouts, which would be very interesting. And the monetization strategy, which, to be fair, I don't think many people would argue with. Now, obviously, this is just the only thing that has been shown off for the new UI. I expect everything else to also have been updated. So, for example, when it comes to the homepage of the store, I would expect this to be updated because it's currently using outdated images. So for example, the skin crates shown off here, these are icons which the game no longer uses since they use the 3D models for these towers. But additionally, you may notice in the background of these game passes and credits, they are empty because they are currently glitched, but also they use the original, well, not really original, but it's like the 4th iteration of Autumn Falling. We have a new iteration of Autumn Falling right now, which doesn't look like this. It looks very similar to this, but it doesn't look like this exactly. And the only reason why the developers probably haven't updated it is because they either forgot or they were planning a new UI remake for the entire section here. So, like, I'd expect this to be updated once the developers actually implement the new UI features. Further to this, some of these items that are shown off here, they are currently slightly outdated. So, for example, example, the tower plushies shown off here, yeah, you can buy some of these plushies, but I don't think you can buy the max level commander plushie anymore since that's off sale. Additionally, you don't get any codes for these anymore, and the image that's shown off here is like one of the old icons, or sorry, one of the old thumbnails for the lobby, which was seen back in the day. I think this is like 2 years old. In addition to this, the VIP Game Pass now actually offers more stuff in it, which the current VIP description for in the homepage no longer describes, which is fair enough. Also, I don't think the featured items have changed all too much. Actually, I think they changed daily, which seems really weird, but I don't know why the Demo Man, for example, is a featured item. As for like the daily rotation of skins, I think they'll keep this around, especially because some of the stuff that's shown off here actually does generate some money for the developers, especially when it comes to guaranteed golden skins. Like, for example, the guaranteed golden minigunner, even though the golden minigunner isn't probably one of the mini golden skins that you probably want, the fact that you can get some guaranteed golden skins here probably makes this more enticing to some players. For example, those who want the Golden Scouts maybe want to purchase it through here for 55,000 coins. Although with that being said, if the developers revamp the store UI, I'd imagine they'll probably want to revamp the Daily Tower skins and how much they cost, especially when it comes to getting a guaranteed golden skin, for example. Also, when it comes to the emote section and the tag section of the store, I'm not sure if the developers would want to move back to having all of these tags and emotes being available at all times. Similar to how when they did the mission quests, originally there were only like 6 mission quests available to everyone, but the developers have now moved it so that all of these mission quests are available to everyone, and they have a choice of which one they can choose at all times. Although that being said, if your UI is set to small or huge, you can't actually select the bottom 3 mission quests. I think you're able to actually bypass this if you set your graphics to, say, default. And let me just check real quick if you can do the mission quest for these. Yes, I think you can just about do it. But with that being said, you shouldn't have to go into your settings and change your UI so that you're able to actually select these mission quests. It's just kind of ridiculous. And yeah, actually, you have to set it to huge to actually select the bottom ones, because otherwise I'd actually miss the Dark Radiance mission quest and the Fallen Angel mission quest. So if you are stuck with your UI and you can't select the bottom mission quests, you have to set it to huge. Maybe that's something that the developers would fix when it comes to the UI update, but I'm not sure if they will do that. Also, I'm not sure if they would also want to update the background of these icons, because it's using a hand-drawn image, which I don't think the developers use nowadays. If you were to go into a game, for example, and select solo, it shows a different background icon shown off here rather than the icon that's shown off in the icons for the store, which was used previously but is now no longer used. Also, hopefully the developers update the DJ booth music icon as shown off here. This is the last vestige that I can really think of which uses the old UI for Tower Defense Simulator all the way back from the overhaul update in 2020. Every single other UI element has been updated. Apart from this, you can see the blocky UI and the different typeface that's used here, which isn't used elsewhere in Tower Defense Simulator because they've updated it since. This is the only other place where you can see this overhaul typeface, which I guess is a bit of a history for Tower Defense Simulator, but really it ought to be updated. But given the fact that this is for the DJ booth music Game Pass, and that's like not being used all too often because of the Roblox audio update, I'd have to assume that the developers have no interest in updating this. In terms of recent polls as well, interestingly, there has been some things that have been said. So for example here, does the shotgunner and assassin roles overlap too much? Cheap early game tower with crowd control. Some 72% of people said yes, while 28% people said nah. I think they're distinctive enough that I don't think they overlap. The shotgunner is a piercing tower. The assassin tower can only hit one tower until it's upgraded, where it does its whirlwind spin, where it can hit multiple towers. But there is a suggestion where the shotgunner could be rebalanced. So here it says, should the shotgunner be rebalanced to a mid-late game crowd control tower to help alleviate these issues? 52% of people said yes. 27% of people said no, assassin should be the late game option, or 21% of people said no, both should be early game towers. And also there's a note here saying, to clarify, if we were to rebalance the shotgunner like this, it would still retain a cheap early cost, $600 to $800 for level 1, but would be less cost efficient than the assassin's early levels, for example, meaning that the shotgunner would be able to ramp up much further than the assassin tower, but earlier on it won't be as cost efficient as the Assassin Tower, so that early on it's not as effective as the Assassin Tower, but it still has some early game utility. It's just that it can be upgraded to do much more than the Assassin Tower does early on, which actually I kind of agree with. They kind of do overlap, but I don't know if people would actually want to agree to this, especially because the shotgunner, I don't know, people do use the shotgun as like a speedrunning tactic, but I feel like the Assassin Tower could also take over as that role. Another poll recently, do you guys like game modes where more enemies spawn in, crowd control centered modes like pre-balance Fallen mode rework, or more spread out sets of enemies akin to current Fallen? Many people say spammy waves are better, and 29% of people said spammy waves are better, whereas 71% of people said I prefer less spammy wave structures. Interestingly enough though, many people would probably say that they prefer the old Fallen mode, which was more spammy, compared to the current Fallen mode, which is, as said here, more spread out sets of enemies akin to current Fallen mode. So it's interesting that 71% of people say they prefer less spammy wave structures, but most people, the majority of people, would probably say that they prefer the original Fallen mode before it was reworked to be less spammy. So, not sure. Which, again, goes into what Fallen mode, how does Fallen mode feel nowadays? People are way too easy, slightly too easy, balanced as it is, or slightly too hard. I think it's kind of balanced as it is. People say, 41% of people say it's slightly too easy, 34% of people said it's balanced as it is, and 22% of people said it's way too easy. Only 2% and 1% of people say it's slightly too hard and way too hard, which I don't think it's too hard at all. I think that it is balanced. Could be slightly more harder, I can't lie, but that's why 41 people said it's slightly too easy, which is fair enough. Again, these polls aren't an indication of what could be coming in the future. There may be a shotgun and rework in the future. There may be a Fallen mode rework in the future. We'll just have to wait and see on that.